Hola, mi amigos. Welcome to the Don't Stifle Me podcast. My name is Jacob Stee-full. I'm back. This is my podcast where I get to sit down with guests from all across music and performing arts, and we talk about how they've done, what they've done, and the things you go through along the way, the ups, the downs, the good, bad, and ugly, and all in between. And we just hang out, have some coffee, and you get to listen to it. Before we get into it, though, I do want to let you know this podcast is listener funded. And what that means is that instead of me reading a bunch of advertising and commercial spots right now, for the time being, I'm leaving it up to you beautiful people out there listening. And so if you enjoy what I've got going on here, if you're liking the episodes, you want to keep hearing more, well, you can go over to patreon.com/DSM podcast. And over there, you can pledge a small amount of money per month, $1, $2, $5, whatever you choose. And you get to be a part of the process, plus get some behind the scenes pictures and video and MP3s that I post up there from time to time. And all the money that comes in from that goes directly to online hosting fees, uploading fees, getting new equipment, hard drives, all that stuff to keep the podcast moving forward. And once again, if you want to check that out, that is patreon.com/DSM podcast. All right. My guest today is the talented and beautiful Jenny Weaver. Jenny is a member of the group The Battlefield, a trio out of Los Angeles, California. But Jenny has recently relocated here to Nashville, Music City. And she came into the studio here and we sat and had, I think actually, we didn't drink coffee because both of us had excessive amounts of coffee already that day. But we chatted for a while, and then at the end, she plays some ukulele for you. So stick around for that. But here is my conversation with Jenny Weaver.
Pick it up again.
Welcome. Welcome to the under construction office.
The under construction office is way more constructed than my new home. So yeah. I'm impressed.
Yes, welcome to Nashville.
Thank you.
How long have you been here now?
I moved into my place May 5th. Yeah.
And we are August the 8th of 2018. That's when we're talking right now.
You got things hung on the walls.
Look at this. Yeah. And it's pretty somewhat even too.
That's very even. Did you use a level?
Not a level, but I used a tape measure and pencil and paper.
All right.
And planning. Because you got to sketch things out.
Right.
You got to do the calculations, and then you hammer things into the wall.
I mean, you dealt with like an angle over there, so you couldn't just measure up to the ceiling. You had to.
It was very close.
That looks like math, geometry.
It was mathematics. I have a civil engineering degree.
Do you really?
I do.
Oh, there you go.
I grew up working on shit with my dad all the time. And so Chance and I were in here hanging stuff up. And he's like, I got these 6 posters from Jason Isbell's Ryman run last year. He said, I want to put these up on this wall, but I want them to be evenly spaced out. I'm not real sure how to go about that. I said, give me 10 minutes.
Nice.
So I measured the wall and sat down here and sketched out, whatever. And
You're hired.
Pretty good, yeah. He needs to pay me more.
Awesome.
But yeah, we finally did this. We've been talking about doing this for.
It's true. We were going to get the band, but they're all over the place. So you get me.
We were like in Austin at the same time.
Twice.
Yeah. And it just didn't work out.
Epic fail.
When are they going to come out here?
Who knows?
Battlefield.
Who knows?
Band.
Who knows what they're doing with their lives?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm going out there in a little over a week to do some shows around Idaho and Utah. Maybe one in California.
When are you going to be in Utah?
Sunday the 26th.
Of August?
Yeah.
Our friend Don Gallardo and I will be in Utah.
Are you doing Snow Basin?
September 1st through 4th or something like that?
Awesome. Same gig.
Okay.
Same gig. So we did Snow Basin. This will be our
Is that a festival
third
or something?
summer. It's a big ski resort up in Huntsville, Utah, near Ogden, like 45 minutes outside of Salt Lake. So they have winter residencies. We've done it twice, and then this will be our third summer playing their Blues, Brews, and Barbecue Festival, which is every weekend. They have this amazing stage outdoors. Yeah. It's free. It's it's really fun. And Dawn came and did the winter residency with us this past February, since we were on the road together.
That's when he was out there playing with y'all.
Yeah. And so we were parading him around the bookers, being like, don't you want more Gallardo in your life? And they were like, of course.
Of course. Everybody loves Don Gallardo.
Cool.
I've never been to Utah before, so I'm
really?
excited. I'm gonna
it's
go just,
so pretty up there.
He and I are just going to fly out there, just doing like a duo or trio thing or something. So, yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
But we're not here to talk about Don Gallardo as much as we love him. No. I want to talk about I want to talk about everything. But the Battlefield.
Yeah.
Is it the Battlefield or Battlefield?
It is the Battlefield.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'll search Battlefield, and of course a shit ton of stuff comes up.
Mostly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you put the Battlefield or the Battlefield Band.
Well,
California.
the Battlefield Band is actually an old, I think, Scottish band.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't find that.
So all of our stuff is We Are the Battlefield. And we've actually considered fully rebranding as We Are the Battlefield.
Yeah.
But that's our website, our Instagram, all that stuff is We Are the Battlefield.
What, that reminds me of that, was it Pat Benatar song?
Well, yes, we cover that song.
Love is a Battlefield?
We do a cover of that song.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I haven't heard it. I've listened to it.
Well, it's on Spotify and iTunes.
Really?
And all those good places.
I missed it. Mm-hmm. I heard your cover of I'm on Fire this morning.
Okay.
It's very good.
Cool. Yeah, that was one of our first things we did, and we actually shot a video for that one back in the early days.
Sexy little video. I watched it. I watched it this morning. I was like, Jenny, yeah, dancing on a pole there for a second.
Well, I was a pole dancer instructor for quite some time, for like 7 years in LA. Yeah.
How about this?
Well, I taught S Factor, which is a feminine movement class, so it's not just the pole. It's more the language of the female body and eradicating shame around it and
very cool.
Teaching women, all about that. So I haven't been doing it lately, but it was really fun. So they let us use the studio for free to shoot, and
cool. Was that in LA?
Everyone was more than happy to have some pole dancing in the video. So that was it was a studio they had out in Encino, but let us shoot for free. So cool. Thank you, S Factor.
Yeah. So where are you from, Jenny?
I'm from Houston, Texas.
Houston.
That's
what part of Houston?
That's right. It's Bel Air, which is like near the 610 Loop.
Okay.
It's like central Houston.
Okay, right on. Is that anywhere near the Heights?
It is not far from the Heights.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in the Heights. I went to Houston International Theater School growing up, which was in the Heights. It is in the Heights still.
Cool.
Yeah.
Theater? So you do
theater. I did a lot of theater growing up. Yeah. I did a lot of theater. I did a lot of Houston Grand Opera. I did a show at the Alley. So I was really enmeshed in the...
Like musical type theater? Were you like singing while you were doing it?
I did.
Yeah.
It was mostly musical type theater.
Yeah.
I actually got my college degree in musical...
I don't know the
theater
lingo
and
here.
Then musical type theater.
What's the lingo? What should I have said there? Are you singing while you're doing things?
I like that. It sounds more fun than musical theater. Musical type theater, which actually is what I ended up doing, because even once I kind of stopped doing a lot of musical theater, anytime I was in a play... Yeah. Both in New York and in Los Angeles, I always ended up singing in it. Like, they always found a way, even when there was not supposed to be any music in the production, to incorporate
once they heard you
me
sing,
singing.
they were like, we got to have her singing out here.
That is kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Every time. So
beautiful
I was like,
voice.
something about this. Thank you. So musical type theater turned into musical.
How early did you start that? How old were you?
5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did your parents do the same kind of stuff?
No, my parents are both geologists.
Geologists?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
Any other family lineage of music?
I think there is, like, all over the place, like random cousins and there's a lot of music sort of sprinkled throughout. It's not directly in my the generation before me as much, but there is quite a bit. But I think I was just I was really shy when I was little, except for when I would just like launch into make believe and performing.
That's cool.
And I had a teacher in Montessori school when I was really little who suggested this theater school, this like theater program for kids. Mm-hmm. And then I just was addicted and never stopped. So
nice. So did you go to you said you went to college for that? Is that
I went to Northwestern in Chicago,
which
has a great program and was an amazing place to be. And then I did that for years. What time period was that? That was, I graduated in 99.
Okay.
From Northwestern.
From Northwestern?
Yeah. And then I moved to New York for a long time and did theater and was in bands. And then I moved to LA and was doing some indie film. And
were you always doing theater and music? Like,
I was
when did you start
always
playing in bands
singing.
and
Like,
stuff?
that's what's interesting. Like, I started playing in bands in New York, but I wasn't really writing, and I didn't really know that part of myself very well.
Yeah.
I mean, I always kind of wrote a bit growing up, but I didn't take it very seriously, and I never thought that I could do what, like, the artists I really loved did. Like, it always seemed like some, like, wild talent that just wasn't in me.
Out of reach.
It seemed so out of reach. And then in New York, I was in a band, and I went through a horrible breakup, and then I finished my first song. Like, I just remember, like, walking on the streets of the Lower East Side and just singing this song, and I was like, I wrote a song. But I still didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah.
And then in LA, I just kept writing and writing and writing, and I was in an acting class, and one day, someone in the class, we were sitting in circle, which was this meditation we would do, and someone was like, I really think you need to be singing every day and playing music in front of people. And I was like, well, that came out of nowhere. And I was like, well, okay. And then a couple weeks later, someone had dared me to come sing in my acting class, and so I, like, brought my little ukulele, which I'd been writing on, and sang a song. It was, like, the first time I sang anything I wrote in front of people. And a couple weeks later, like, another friend was like, you're opening for my boyfriend next week at the piano bar. And I was like, and she hadn't even been there that night. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. She's like, I bet you're great. And I was like, holy shit. And so I did. And then it was just this, like, sort of snowball. I ended up doing a big Kickstarter campaign and raising money to make a record. And I made a record. And then I immediately met my band. And then
you had a solo album thing
I did a
first.
solo
Okay,
album. Yeah. And then it just took over.
Yeah.
It just completely took over. Like, everything else I'd been doing fell away. I got rid of, like, my agent and manager in the acting world and was just so much happier doing music.
Yeah.
So
in moving from Houston to Chicago, and Chicago to New York, and then New York to LA, LA to Nashville. It's like you've hit all the
I'm just
all
hitting
the
them.
spots. Did you?
check them off.
Was there I'm sure there was, but like, was there hesitation when you were like in Houston and wanted to go to Chicago, or in Chicago and need to go? I mean, those are all pretty big cities, so you're kind of used to being in the cities. I'm just thinking, like, as far as hesitation of giving it a shot, of going and saying, all right, I'm going to New York, I'm going to go do it.
Right.
Or when you say, all right, I want to go to LA now. Like, what goes through?
Well, I think it's interesting because, you know, in high school, I mean, you're so young when you make a decision to go to college.
Right.
Like, nobody should be making these decisions.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I mean, I guess back in the day, you just, like, got married, had a kid, and that was it. But now we have all these choices, and we can go places and get an education. And I was really fortunate that I had parents who were so supportive of that. It was very important to them, and they were very much like, you need to get out of Texas. Like, you need to leave here. You need to go see a new place.
That's great.
You can always come back.
Not that there's anything wrong with Texas.
No.
But you need to get it. Everybody needs to go see something different.
Yeah, and it's harder, it's more expensive for parents to pay for their kids to go to college out of state and all these things. So that was, like, a big deal that my parents were so, like, you need to go. And they had a hard time with me being an artist because I'm, like, 17, and they'd always been like, you need to get a good education and do all these things. And so I remember
at some point where they were like, I guess this is just what she's doing.
Absolutely. At some point, and the thing is that once they realized that, they stopped questioning it. It was really amazing because they were always like, are you sure? Like, do you need to do something else? And then, like, 17-year-old Jenny would get hysterical and be like, you don't believe in me, And they'd be like, no, it's just, it's hard. You're choosing something that's really challenging, you know? And then they'd always say something to the effect of, you're just so smart. You could do anything. Like, why this? Yeah. And it's like, well, if I can do anything, why not this? So it was a lot of that. But yeah, and I remember asking around, and Northwestern was a great school, period. Right. And had one of the best theater programs and music in the country. So I was like, well, this can satisfy everyone. Like, they can feel like I'm getting this great education, which I did. And I can get the arts education that I crave. Right. which I did, you know. And then I remember they gave us so much freedom there, and the program was so well funded. We ended up doing a lot of our own work. They let us. They didn't teach the artists there how to function in the real world, but they taught us how to create. So when I first got out of college, I was really frustrated because I was like, I don't know anything about the industry. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, holy shit, like a lot of my friends are like, you know, writing their own movies that are getting produced and writing shows that I can watch on television and are really in control of their artistic journey and aren't just at the mercy of like, please cast me, please hire me.
Yeah.
That mentality. And so now that I am writing and kind of fully constructing this career, because everything I do at this point and my band is fully independent, like we do it all ourselves.
Right.
I can look back and see how they set me up for that, to be able to take on that kind of work.
Started you down that mental path of being able to do those things. Yeah.
Of like being able to like create and not just
work for somebody else.
Yeah. So that's like that tangent is because my senior year we ended up writing a show that ended up getting into the New York Fringe Festival, and so I went to New York to do that show and was like, might as well stay, you know, why not try this? And then the move to LA, it was so interesting. Like, I was never a huge fan of Los Angeles. It never really called to me at all. And then I thought I'd live in New York forever. And then one day it was like, gotta go.
Yeah?
Gotta leave.
How long were you in New York?
Almost 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then I, you know, once I made the decision, I was like, well, gosh, I'm going to have to, like, figure all these things out to be able to move.
That's like all the way across the country.
Yeah, right? But like everything fell into place. Like suddenly, you know, my roommate's sister was moving to New York, and so she could take over my lease. And you know, I got a job because my friend got contracted to a soap opera. Like all these things were happening. I mean, that actually happened right after I arrived. But
what year did you go to LA?
2007.
Okay. Like
everything fell into place to make it a pretty easy transition. Now that I look back at it.
Yeah.
And then I was really happy in LA until I wasn't, you know, like the Battlefield started touring a lot, and I started being in all these other places and other environments, and it started getting harder and harder to go back to LA, like back into that like congestion.
Yeah.
It's so many people,
yeah.
And I started really dreading it. Like, I would get really upset when I had to go back into it.
When you went to LA, at that point, were you going for the acting?
Yeah.
Like that was, you said you had like a management and
I ended up with a manager, And I had...
What kind of work did you do?
Like, I did like some indie films, and I did some theater in LA. Yeah, it was interesting. Like, it was a really interesting time because I was only there for a couple of years before I started, like, it brought me to the music path.
Yeah. Have you ever watched on Netflix, there's the show, the Jerry Seinfeld's thing, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
I just watched part of an episode because I love the comedian so much. John Mulaney.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
Have you watched his newest special?
Yes.
The Kid Gorgeous at Radio City? So good.
So good. So
when he's talking about college, he's like, what is college? Stop going till we figure it out.
It's kind of true. It's kind of true. That's why I'm saying you're 17. You have no business making these decisions. But so the only reason I watched that episode was because I like missed him. I had like watched all of his specials.
Yeah.
And then I like saw it on Netflix, and I was like, oh, there he is, that comedian who like feels like
I haven't spent
enough time with him. And so I started watching it, and then I was just like, oh, I don't really care about the car. Like it was kind of like in the background. But
Have you heard of the comedian Jim Gaffigan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he was on one of the episodes, and I was watching it the other night, and they were talking about when Gaffigan first went out to L.A. from wherever he's from, Indiana or somewhere. And he said, I came out and I got a job and moved somewhere. And he said he was telling one of his friends from his hometown that he's going to L.A. or just moved to L.A. or something. And his friend was like, oh, man, how'd you get that? Did your dad, like, know somebody or what? And he was like, No, you can just go.
Right.
You can just go there.
You can just go there. Yeah. You really can.
So many people think it's like trickier or something.
Well, it can be tricky, do you know what I mean? But you can just go, and you can just...
Yeah, it's not going to be... Most of the time, it's not going to be easy. They're not going to roll out the red carpet for you and just say, okay, here's a job, a place to live, and all these things. But if you want to do it, you can just go do it.
Yeah.
Like, just go to Chicago or North Dakota.
You can always go back. Like, that's the thing. It's like, you can. Like, nothing is finite, like final, except death. So which who knows even there. But like, even in coming to Nashville, it was like, it was time to leave LA. And I just kept being like, well, Nashville makes sense. And so I just went, like I just decided to.
I mean, at that point, when you've been in Houston, Chicago, New York, and LA, Nashville is next on the list.
Well, I mean, that's not really how it felt because I was considering other places too. But I mean, and it was a hard choice, because I left my band behind in Los Angeles,
right. But still, I want to ask about that because how that works now because y'all are still doing things, but you're here and they're still in LA. So do you like fly out there a lot to go do things?
I mean, that's what's happened so far. When I left in December and we had this 5.5 week tour planned for the winter. And so that was easy. I flew to LA. I stayed with a friend. I rehearsed there and then we were on the road. And then I've flown out there one other time because we got a big private event and they were willing to pay my travel writer. And so I was like, absolutely, I'll come out and do this show.
Yeah.
We actually just turned down, or I think maybe like our first kind of big gig ever, which isn't that big, but like, it was a good guarantee. And because they didn't have the budget to pay my travel writer and I had a personal conflict and I was like, oh, it's not worth it. And I was like, well, this feels new. Like, this is new territory. And, everybody in the band has considered moving. I mean, our drummer travels a lot. So
do other folks have families and kids or anything?
No, you know what I mean? Everybody is at a point where they could.
Yeah.
But it's a big decision, and you can't, I needed to move. It was what I needed to do for myself and my happiness. And I got to the point where I was like, I just have to go. Like, I can't stay in LA where I feel like it's starting to suffocate me energetically and I don't have the space I need to really nurture my creativity because of this band, so it's kind of a leap because you're just like, well, things will evolve in some direction, like we'll either find a way to make it work or we won't. So we're kind of in that space right now where it's like, can we make it work? One of my bandmates has expressed a lot of interest in wanting to move out here, but he just doesn't know. Like, he's always lived in California, and I have friends who never left Texas. So I completely understand, I understand like loving your home and not wanting to change that. I have gotten to a point in my life where I can see that I'm a bit of a gypsy. Like, I love travel. Like, I get stir crazy. I like
the new things,
to
experiencing
move.
Things.
I love it, and I know I can always go back, like, so it doesn't, I don't have a lot of fear around it.
The more places you live, the more places you can go back to if you choose
it's
to.
True.
Like,
you have all these new people and communities and, so it's hard. Then I have another bandmate who is in a relationship and
not moving.
Doesn't want to, you know, so that's a challenge, that relationship doesn't like any of the touring or any of it. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really being in a band is like a really complicated thing. You've got factors.
It's like being married to three people.
We signed like a marriage contract. You know what I mean? Our partnership agreement is, we were like, we're band married. We have joint bank accounts and credit cards and like all that stuff, and so there are a lot of factors. And so I'm excited about the recordings we're working on right now. I'm excited to do these shows. In terms of like what happens after this, like there's just so many question marks, like will we be able to tour with our bandmate in this relationship? Like, don't know. Like, if we can't, what then has to change? Like, does the makeup of the band need to change?
Right.
There's just so many things, that are question marks. But I've gotten to
such is life.
I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, I could let that drive me insane, or I could just not.
Yeah.
So I've chosen not to, and just to, like, I'm going to be.
I feel like between those two choices, that's the good move.
Well, it's actually the harder one a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Like, I've had to get reinvested in like my meditation practice and my yoga practice and all these things to keep my mind from just
mental.
Like,
for sure. That's a big part. I mean, I have to stay on top of that too, because it's so easy to disregard those things, and then you just go down an unhealthy path of all different facets. But it's like keeping your physical sanity and your, nutrition and everything. I feel like it's so important towards keeping your mental clarity. As I struggle to put that into words.
But it's true. Yeah. It's really true. I mean, all of it. And you'll have a time where like things are going really well, and so you're like, you're like, I got this. Yeah. And then when things kind of are more challenging, it's not like you can just pick the practice back up where you left it. It's like you have to go in even harder. Like it takes even more effort. Yeah. So it's all about when things are going either average to great, is staying on top of those things. Yeah. That way, when it inevitably dips down into shitty, as life does from time to time, then you can be able to get yourself back out of it quicker than... Yeah, you've got like the muscles conditions to like surf those waves. Yeah. 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 So you said y'all are working on new recordings? We are. When we decided like a couple years ago, we came off a tour, actually the first time we toured with Mr. Gallardo, who I brought up again, our Southern Colors tour. We got back from that, and one of my bandmates, who was having a lot of trouble in his relationship because of being on the road, was like, I need to tour less right now. And so we were like, well, what can we do to like make the best use of our time? Because if we do another full-length record, we're going to want to just be touring on it, because that's what we were doing at the time. And so we came up with this idea of taking all the songs we were writing and releasing just like little 3-song EPs. Yeah. And that wasn't just based on the touring. That was also based on a lot of feedback we got, because we were trying to pitch things to different licensing places and shows, and a lot of people just kept telling us like the more you can spread out what you're releasing at this point, the better chance you'll have of like catching someone's ears. If you release one record, like after 3 months, like they don't want to hear it. But if you're consistently releasing things, you've got like something new to kind of put on the table. And so we tested that out, and we released our Journey EP about a year ago. And 2 out of the 3 songs we got on a show, so that was good. Yeah. And then in February, we released our Reflections EP, and now we're releasing one called The Bellows. We don't really know when, but the first time we overlapped in Austin, which was during South by. Yeah. So we had a few days off in Texas during the show. It was like a 3-day period, and so we went into a studio in Austin and started recording, because we knew we were going to lose our drummer to another tour for this whole year, because he does like stage management for different bands. He's on the road with Lord Huron right now. Okay. Who? Lord Huron. Lord Huron. Oh, Lord Huron is amazing. Yeah? Yeah, they're going to be at Pilgrimage. You should go. Oh, okay. And so we were like, well, we know we're going to lose him, and we know we want him on the recording, so like let's at least go track drums for those 3 songs, and then just get as much done as we can like during South by when we're not doing things. Right. So we did that, and then the second time we overlapped in Austin, we were there like... That was just a few weeks ago. Just a few weeks ago. Yeah, we were finishing all the tracking, so that's why we were there. Yeah, there was one, I think it was the South by one, was when... I don't know, one of those times, it was like y'all's last day there in the studio or whatever was my first day in town. Right. And so we couldn't get it. Where'd you record? It's called Belltree Studios. And it's so random. Like, I never would have heard of it. We were playing a private event this, like, September of last year. And we normally drive everywhere. And this was like a fly date, which we rarely do because that's not the level we're at, really. But this one was, and we couldn't fly with my harmonium because we just have no way of protecting. Harmonium? Yeah, harmonium. What is a harmonium? A harmonium is an Indian instrument, and it has a keyboard and then bellows, and it's like a pump organ of a sort, and you like pump it while you play.
I gotta see this.
Yeah, just look it up on the internet. You'll probably be like, "Oh, that thing." You've probably seen it in like a yoga class. Like if people are if they're doing like kirtan in a yoga class. Oh, there's our I'm on Fire video. Check that out. Yeah, then you would see it. And I had a bunch of friends in there you go. That's a harmonium right there.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Looks like a little bitty piano.
Yeah, and you pump it. It's got a really cool, fun sound. Like we were traveling a lot.
Organ.
Yeah, see.
Insert dirty joke here.
Really?
Pump organ? What's better than?
Oh God.
What's better than what's better than roses on a piano?
What?
Two lips on an organ.
God.
It's terrible. Oh,
all right.
Sorry, Grandma.
All right. Okay. Cool. That's what like the van is at all times.
Oh yeah.
Touring, being the only girl. I'm like, okay, here we are. Yeah. So I had a bunch of friends put out like the word in Austin that we needed to borrow a harmonium. As you can see, it's like a random thing.
Right.
It's not the easiest thing to borrow. And this guy at the studio lent us the one out of the studio. And
nice.
So when we went to return it, we just had him pull up some stuff they were working on, and we liked his sound. And so we let him mix our last EP, and it went well. And so we just decided to try tracking with him.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Like,
Very
it's been
cool.
really cool.
What all instruments do you play? I know you play ukulele. I now know you play the harmonium.
I play the harmonium. I play some mandolin
Yeah.
and guitar.
Okay.
And in the beginning, I was doing a lot of percussion. Like, we were playing a broken down drum kit. So I would
Right.
have, like, a snare and some cymbals and a hi-hat and a floor tom. And
I've seen you do some piano stuff in some of the videos.
Have you?
Maybe chords. Maybe just chords. Or maybe
Really,
you were
like-
just faking it.
No, not faking it. But I feel like, I want to be able to play some of the instruments that
Yeah.
I play better than I can. Like, it's just, like, I feel like I'm, like, a utility person. Like, really whatever sound we needed in the beginning,
Yeah.
I would just learn to do. I would memorize what I had to play and
Right.
do it. So there are so many things that like I really enjoy playing, but if you just put like, a chord sheet in front of me, I'd be like,
yeah.
Like I cannot just pick up anything and play it.
Yeah,
I really
I have this
work.
issue. Some in life too, but we won't even get into that. But most in music with musical instruments is that like I want to play all the things.
Yes.
I want to play all of them.
I want all the toys.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to play piano, bass, guitar, drums, harmonica, mandolin, banjo, fiddle. I want to do it all.
That sounds great.
And
to
the
me.
thing is, you can't do them all super well.
Right.
Very few people can. Some people can.
Right.
But so I should probably, I don't know, maybe I should practice guitar more, or maybe I should practice one thing more, but I just like playing them all.
I mean, I'd like to feel like I could play any one of them well.
Right.
I don't. I really don't. But I enjoy playing them, and I am a hard enough worker where what I'm playing on stage, like, I know what I'm doing. I cannot go off script, but, like,
What was your first instrument?
I took piano lessons when I was little,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't practice. I would just sit there and, like, make things up.
Yeah?
And so my mom was like, well, you're not taking this seriously. Like, no. I mean, I was doing everything. I was like figure skating and playing the piano, and I was in a theater thing and doing the opera. And it wasn't like my mother took my toy away. She was just like, maybe one, just pick one. Like, and God bless my parents, because they drove me to all of this. Like, I don't know how they both worked full-time jobs and would pick me up at like 1 a.m. from the Houston Grand Opera. Like, insane. But, so yeah, now she's like, oh, you were writing, like you were creative. Like, so I try to tell people now when they complain to me about their kids not practicing a musical instrument, I'm like, lay off. Like, just let them do what they want to do on it. Like, the way we teach music to so many kids is so wrong. It's like kids have so much creative energy. Like, they don't want to sit there and play scales over and over again. Like, that's boring. Like, I can't
maybe that
do
should,
it.
I don't know. Should that come later? It
Yeah.
is important to learn the scales, but I know what you mean. Like, the kids,
I'm
when
kidding.
they're
I'm kidding.
but when kids are super young,
Yeah.
they're so creative.
Yeah.
Like, almost all of them across
Yeah.
the board. It's my nephew just turned 5, and I was on vacation with the family a month or so ago, and every day, multiple times a day, he asked if he could get my guitar out and play with it. He has no idea what he's doing,
Right.
But he just is so like enamored and is still in that creative phase because he hasn't been squashed out of him in school yet.
Yeah.
But he would just sit there and just pluck it and press it and strum and all. Yeah. I guess that means I got to get him a guitar.
Yeah, you do. I mean, there has to be both, I think. I think you can teach them those things, like scales and music. Yeah. But when they don't want to do it, like, don't punish them. Like, they're not bad. They don't hate the instrument. They're not interested. It's just they're a kid, Like, they don't have... And they're... it's like you have to be disciplined. You have to do all these things. And it's like when you're 5.
Yeah. I took piano first when I was 7 and 8. And
that's probably how old I was.
Same thing. You had to like learn what was in the little beginner's book and whatever. And I didn't want to practice because I didn't know any of these songs. And I want to learn Elvis songs.
Exactly.
Or whatever,
Exactly.
So there was a guitar teacher in town that once you got to a certain point, you could bring in CDs and he would teach you these 4 songs that you wanted to learn.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's what I'm talking about. So
exactly.
let me get in on that.
Exactly.
I just wonder, and nothing against, whatever. But like if that piano teacher that I had at that time, if she would have gone about it kind of in that way, I wonder if I would have stuck with the piano.
Probably. Like the songs I was playing when I was 7 or 8 were horrible. They were boring. Like I hated it.
It was like the
yeah, I mean, you're bored. Bored. I'm already bored. If it had been like, Elvis or the Beatles or something that like, or Michael Jackson, like if they taught me anything or George Michael, I would have like never stopped, but at that age.
So one of the things I was reading about you in my research was that you grew up listening to your parents' records.
I did.
I did as well.
Yes.
It's one of probably the biggest influence musically was Dad had like 1,000 records.
Yes.
He had it like the country ones over here and the rock and roll ones over here, and just the different phases of my life I can look back on as to which records I was pulling down and listening to.
Totally.
Did you listen to them yourself, or do you just remember like hearing the ones that they played?
I listened to them myself, and I heard the ones they played. Like there were some things my mom was like obsessed with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris and like all these amazing women, and that wasn't as interesting to me at the time. But now, like I love those women, and I know all those records. Like I can put one on, and I'm like, oh shit! Like I know this whole thing by heart. But when I was a kid, like in addition to what they would play, I mean, my dad was like a huge David Allan Coe fan. Like he played like country. My mom played like all this sweet like Americana, we call it that now, music. And I loved pop. Like I loved like old school, like Michael Jackson, Wham, like all that stuff. But I wasn't allowed to get cassette tapes because they didn't sound great, and I was going to ruin them because I was too young. Like they thought I would like pull out all the tape and all this stuff, and they had no idea how much respect I had for them. But so they bought me everything on record. Everything was on vinyl, and they would,
one of the reasons was that it didn't
tape.
sound as good.
Yeah.
Well, that was very insightful of them because it's true.
It's true. It's true. And so they would buy the record and they would like make me a tape if I needed it for like my Walkman or something. Oh, yeah. That way, if it got destroyed, you could just
still had the record.
You could make another one.
Yeah,
yes,
for
exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I grew up listening to like Dad's records, but that was in like the main living room area.
Yep.
The stereo I had in my room was his old one, I guess from college or something. It had an 8-track player in it.
Oh, wow.
And I had all these old 8-tracks that he had made from records. So he had.
I didn't know you could do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back in the, 77 to 82 era, he was a guy like Dad doesn't play any instruments and never did, but he's such a fan of the music and of good music, and he would make compilation 8-tracks. He put like Jimmy Buffett and David Allan Coe and Merle and Waylon and all these, Jerry Jeff Walker and all these people, and put it all on one and label it this, and these songs are on these whatever, blah blah blah, and then he'd have rock and rollin' and this and that, and he'd be the one that get all his friends and be like, "Y'all got this new record, whatever, listen to this." And so I think I got all that from him. But I remember
original mixtape.
Yeah, I still to this day there's certain songs that when I hear them in my head, I hear click from hearing the 8-track flip over like to the next track, because there's 4 tracks on the 8-track. I don't know exactly how that works, but that's what it is. And so when you get to the end of one, it clicks and then I guess jumps down and starts playing.
Didn't know that.
And you can't on an 8-track you can't rewind.
You can't?
You can fast forward, but you can't rewind. So you can either fast forward or you can press a button
So it's
that
flipping
skips to
back
the
and
next
forth?
track. It skips to the next. So like, I wish I had one.
I never knew this.
There's
I'm learning so much.
4 tracks
on each side.
on each 8-track.
Okay.
I don't know why it's called that, but that's what it is.
Okay.
So on track 1, it would have like 3 songs. Track
Okay.
2 would have 3 or 4 songs. Track 3 would have 3 or 4 songs. And track 4 would have 3 or 4 songs. So say you're halfway through the second song on the first track and you hit the next track button. I hope I'm using the right word. It goes to the next one. So then you're like halfway through the second song on that one. And you can't rewind. So you can like skip through the thing in random spots.
Oh, weird.
Or fast forward, but you can't rewind. It is weird. Yeah.
I have never known this.
I don't know how useful that is in
I can't
2018.
believe we didn't keep those around. They sound. What were we thinking?
One time I was cleaning house with Mom or something during the day. It was a Saturday, and I had Hotel California 8-track in, just letting it play, and was in the other room jamming, cleaning dishes or whatever I was doing, and it stopped. And I didn't notice it for several seconds. I was like, "Oh shit!" And I ran in there, and it was. And I pulled out the 8-track, and it had broken, and all the tape was like in the machine. And I pulled it out. I was so sad.
That's so sad.
I mean, I could probably find one on eBay for 99 cents now, but at that time it was a big deal that day.
It's horrible. I'll never forget. My sister couldn't stand listening to my Wilson Phillips tape, and she came into my room and pulled all the tape out of it.
Oh no!
But I got a Bic pen and I twisted it all back in, and it was
yeah.
fine. She was pissed.
The
next
twist.
one she cut.
Oh no!
She'd forgotten to cut it, but now I understand. I mean, I would have been annoyed with me too, but
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
one
sister?
younger sister, 4 years younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you a mean older sister?
No.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No. I mean,
Apparently, she was not the nicest of younger sisters.
she was just rambunctious. Like,
Yeah.
she had a lot of energy, and she could be like a little devil, but she was funny.
What does she do?
She now works in travel. She does like super high-end travel. Like, she
Like-
plans like trips around the
Okay.
world for people. And
Oh,
like,
nice.
Yeah. And she lives in Seattle, so that's
Very
nice.
cool. Are you going to be, you said you were going to be up there for the Isbell show.
I'm going to be there for the Isbell show.
Yeah.
So I have a little dog, and
Okay.
so I'm going to take my little dog to Seattle, and my sister's going to watch it while I'm on the road with the band, and then I'll
Okay.
fly back up there to retrieve my sweet dog and see Isbell.
Nice.
Because she already had the tickets, and so I extended my trip. It's kind of a great excuse to get to see my sister for a little longer.
That's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't get to see mine enough.
Yeah. One sister?
One, yep, older sister, like 2.5, 3 years.
Nice. Yeah, it was nice living on the West Coast because it was so easy to fly up to Seattle. Like, you can get really
Yeah.
cheap plane tickets all the time. That's probably, like, the hardest thing about this move. I'm close to my parents now, but
Yeah.
I'm far from my sister.
Your parents still in Houston?
No, they moved to Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
So they're super close.
I've heard good things about Asheville. I've never been.
It's
I've heard it's like
so pretty.
new hippie central.
It is. It's like like a less expensive, although it's getting kind of crazy, Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, that's
but
the
it's
vibe
like
I've heard,
softer,
yeah.
you know, because it's in like the Blue Ridge Mountains. So it's just like a kind of softer.
Yeah.
But yeah, super hippie. You know, there's like drum circles in the little square every Friday, and yeah, but they have great music. Like, the music scene's amazing. There are some great venues. The restaurants are awesome.
Your parents still working? Or are
No,
they still
they're both retired.
Nice.
They're both
Just
retired.
living the dream now?
They are. They really are. They're living the dream. Like, they've got, you know, they hike like 500 to 600 miles a year.
Yeah.
And they travel. Like, they're always
They're
on
pretty
the trail.
healthy people?
Very healthy.
Yep.
They take really good care of themselves, which is awesome.
That is good. Very
It's so
important.
nice. It's so nice to have parents who like take great care of themselves. You know, they eat really well. They drink red wine. They're on a trail all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work now at 30, almost 31, so that I can be that someday down the line. Like, I want to not have to get back into shape once I'm too far gone.
Yeah.
You know,
It's important, you
Yeah.
know, it's really important. I think, you know, we have all these like really horrible ideas or just feelings around age in this country. And
Yeah.
a lot of people assume that you get to a specific age and it means something in terms of like your health and your body and what you're capable of. And it's so depressing. You know, people are just like, well, I'm this age now, so I'm going to give up and I get fat and I do this and my body can't do that. And it's like, no, you have to keep moving. Like when you stop, that's when your body starts shutting down.
And it's not even all about like length of life, because who knows, we may get hit by a bus tomorrow.
Right.
But it's quality. Like I want to be, like my grandma just turned 90 the other day. Nice. She still like goes walking for like a mile in the morning, and she volunteers at the library. She was actually on the podcast a couple episodes ago. Yeah, we sat down on her 90th birthday and talked in Crosby, Texas. But yeah, like I want to be active and living and doing things.
Me too.
When I'm 60, 70, 80, you know.
Me too.
It's not just about, and I think too many people think that it's vanity, or that it's all about how you look, which of course it's nice to look good. Mm-hmm. But to me, like working out and staying healthy and being whatever active is much more about quality of how you feel and how quality of life.
Yeah.
Over,
well, everything flows better when you're getting blood to your brain and to like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we live in a really like youth obsessed culture, like very obsessed with appearance, but we're not obsessed with a healthy appearance in our culture. We're obsessed with like a pretty extreme, unhealthy version of the human body. So, like, I don't think that's what we're even talking about. We're talking about just like the healthy body, like a body that looks like it moves and it eats well and is capable of things, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I see a lot of women who, you know, have like the quote unquote ideal female body, and I'm like, well, they couldn't do anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they can barely move. They're so hungry, you know?
Ideal, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
You see models and stuff. It's like, that doesn't even, like, to me, it's like, it's not even that attractive.
I mean, they're ideal to hang clothes on.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Like, I want to,
I mean, I don't want to shame any female body. Like, no. I think it's beautiful, but it is crazy, you know, when you look at how like youth obsessed our culture is. It makes sense that people, once they pass a certain age, are like, oh well, I'm over, you know, like I'm over. Because
I like what you said about like a body that looks like it can do something.
Yeah,
like a body that looks like it can pick something up or walk over a mountain without breaking. You know?
Like healthy. Yeah, you know, you're just like that, or even like that body can digest food. You know, some I see and I'm like, whoa, like what has been happening over there? But yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been playing the ukulele? I've never messed with the ukulele before.
Really? Well, you can.
I'm going to look at it here in a minute.
Yeah, you should. I've been playing the ukulele for maybe around a decade.
Yeah. Is it? I've got a friend of mine that has one, and he was showing it to me the other day. It's tuned. It's not tuned similar to a guitar or anything, is it? It's like completely different as far as like chord structure. Like I know there's just 4 strings, right?
Correct.
But it's not tuned like a mandolin or fiddle.
It is not.
Why is there so many damn different tunings? Why can't we just say
like,
this is
for fun? I don't know. I mean, it's a lot. You know, I'm a teeny. I have little hands, so there's some ways in which that is a lot easier for me to play than a guitar.
For sure.
But yeah, like it's so interesting because I was playing the guitar, kind of basic guitar for years, and then I would write what I was writing at the time. I heard a very different sound in terms of what was backing what I was writing, and I would try to figure it out on the guitar, and I never could, and it was very frustrating. And I was like, there's this sound, and it's like kind of like harpy, like but guitar-y, and I don't know what it is. And then I was at a show that a friend of mine directed down in San Diego, and during the curtain call, she played this Ingrid Michaelson song that was written on a ukulele, and I was like, that's it! What's the sound? What's the sound? And someone was like, it's ukulele. I was like, really? I was like, okay. And so I bought like a really inexpensive one, like, you know, like a $30 banger ukulele just to see if like I actually liked it, and I loved it. So then I wanted a really nice ukulele and did a bunch of research and discovered this company called Koaloa, and was like convinced that was the one I wanted, but I was like, how am I, like, I've never even played this thing. And so I went to McCabe's in Los Angeles because they carried them, and they had like 100 different ukuleles, and I played every single one of them, and the Koaloa was the one that I was like, this is my instrument. Yeah. So I wrote most of my record that I released back in 2013 on it.
Yeah.
And was so inspired by this like sweet little instrument that I took a copy of the CD and I wrote a thank you letter like to whoever is reading this, like, I was like, to whoever is reading this at Koaloa Ukelele, like, thank you so much for inspiring me. This instrument is so beautiful, like, and sent it off. And a couple
you just send it to
I like
Koaloa?
literally, yeah, I literally looked at like the factory address and was
Yeah.
just like, just get this into the hands of anyone who will read a thank you note, because I was so moved by this instrument. And I sent it off, and then like a couple weeks later, I got an email from the president of the company.
Oh, wow.
That was like, we love you. How can we help you?
Really?
Yeah. And so they ended up making me this ukulele.
What?
Yeah, and it has electronics, and I was like, well, I need one that I can like play on stage and all this stuff, and they made it for me, and yeah.
That's badass.
And they're so sweet, and now they're like my family.
That's great.
Yeah, they're like this really awesome like family run company, and
You heard it here, folks.
there you go, Koaloa Ukuleles.
There you go.
And they were coming to LA every year to do like the NAM, NAM.
Yeah.
To do NAM, and then they would do like a big event at the Grammy Museum every
Nam
year.
was a war that we that didn't end up
No,
well.
it didn't go well.
Yeah.
You're like, you really don't want them in there. But that's funny. And they would like invite me to their event at the Grammy Museum every year and like take me out. They took me to Disneyland once. Like, they're just such fun dudes. Like,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I love them. But see, it's right. You just say thank you. You know, you never know like
just
what
be
it'll
nice.
turn into. Just be nice. Who knows? You could end up with like a ukulele family.
There you go. That's a good theory in life. Just
You know,
be nice.
just be nice.
Yeah. I got a shirt that says, "Life is short. Don't be an asshole."
Huh?
Just another way of saying that.
Even if it was long, like especially if it's long, I would think it's actually like life could be long. Like, don't make a ton of
Yeah.
enemies, you know, because
I wonder. Okay, so it's early 1800s,
okay,
and in the middle of nowhere, Appalachia, guys are sitting on their front porch with a guitar and a fiddle, maybe a mandolin. How do they know what the proper tunings are?
oh,
How do they know that if I tune these strings to these pitches, I can make a G chord this way? At what point did it become standardized? Does that make sense?
I mean, I think we could actually look up some of this on the internet because
Probably.
I've read things about like tunings changing over time.
I want to do some research on that because I wonder at what point the standard guitar tuning became the standard guitar tuning. Like, I don't like, because I'm sure, a lot of the old blues guys play, I'm sure, like an open, some kind of open tuning to where they could just slide and it sounded like this. When did somebody go around and say, no, that's not the right tuning. This is how you make a G chord and a D chord and a C chord and all these things.
I don't know.
Why don't you know these things?
I don't know.
That's why I
because I
brought
don't
you
study
here.
these things. I can't even play scales half the time. But
So what shows you got coming up with the Battlefield?
so I think we're doing one in LA on Friday the 24th.
Okay.
That one has not been confirmed.
Friday, August 24th.
August
possibly.
24th, yeah, possibly.
Okay.
And then we're doing the Snow Basin Blues, Brews, and Barbecue,
That weekend.
which is the Sunday,
Yeah.
the 26th. We're co-headlining with a band out of the Bay Area called Jelly Bread.
Jelly bread.
I know. I think they're like really funky. They seem pretty cool. Like rock funk
funky
outfit.
name. So,
Really is. Like, it'd be weird if it was like a classical.
Right?
It's a string quartet. And then that Monday we're at this like recording studio / performance space in Logan, Utah. I think it's called Y Sound. And then we're back in Boise, Idaho at the Olympic.
Okay.
That following Wednesday, I think it's the 29th, with Jelly Bread again.
Very nice.
Yeah, so this is just like a quick little run.
Is there somewhere that people can go to see these things? Like a
website?
site somewhere on
Like-
on an interweb
Like, you mean
thing.
like wearethebattlefield.com?
Something like that.
Yeah, I bet
yes.
if you went to a site like wearethebattlefield.com, you would see where Bands in Town has integrated all of our shows
yes.
into the website.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. Bands in town. I
It
use
is,
that
except for they
myself.
make you use Facebook, which makes me angry.
Really?
'Cause I don't want to use Facebook.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you have against Facebook?
I'm really having a problem with social media in general right now.
Yeah.
Just the assault on our senses and how I don't think it's incredibly healthy for us to hold that much story about everybody's lives in our
Yeah.
minds and souls. I think it's too much.
I don't disagree at all.
But also, Facebook, when I started using it, was a pretty great tool for getting information out and for sharing things. And as an artist, it was really helpful, and they've made it so expensive.
Yeah, if you want anything to be seen from an artist page or band page, you have to give them money, and not just like 50 cents or $1.
No.
But when I'm supposed to be promoting for a show, I'll allocate like a certain percentage of what I'm getting paid for that show and put that, and sometimes it's $5, $10, $15, $20.
I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, in good conscience, do it anymore with, what that company's become. And, when I did my Kickstarter campaign and when we did ours for the band, like, I could easily reach, like, 10,000 people with a post. And now I'm lucky if I reach 400.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's even people who like your page you can't reach. When we released our latest EP, like, we don't have a very big social media presence. I think there's around 1,800 people who like our page. And to pay for those 1,800 people to see that we'd released an EP, for them to see that post, it was going to cost me $200. For the people who have already liked our page, who've already asked for the information. And, like, as a small indie band, that's not sustainable. Like, I can't give them $200 for, like, we'll be lucky if we make that in total on people streaming that EP,
No,
like,
for sure.
So it just feels like it's gotten really off balance. And I don't see a lot of the value in it as a tool, because I can't do with it what I used to be able to do with it.
Yeah.
So...
Do y'all have, like, an email list thing?
We do, and that's even gotten really hard.
Really?
MailChimp, like, they want you to pay for it, too. And I look at our open rates, and they're, like, going down because of the way that, like...
Mine have been pretty... Like, you can look and see, like, what percentage yours are usually, and you can compare them to, like...
we're above industry standard.
Yeah, industry standard. That's
but we're far below what our reach was a few years ago. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, it's like mail programs are like sending certain things into like a promotions folder or a social folder, all these, you know what I mean? And so there are ways with, you can pay to have them kind of not treated like junk.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah. I was not aware of these.
But again, it's like, what is a good investment? It's becoming really hard to know. And I'm at a point right now where it's just so frustrating that for my sanity, I've just decided to step away. Like, I've actually gotten rid of all social media unless I absolutely have to be doing it.
Right.
And that money is just going to the studio, and that time and space just going into, like, the creative process again. If you have, like, a label behind you or someone with all this money that can pump, they can pump into that stuff, fine. But, like, if it's not producing results, why am I expending my energy and our resources?
Right.
Plus, there's
just no good answers.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if anybody has a new idea, I think we need something new. Like, there has to be something else that comes along that kind of gives us the ability to connect with one another in a real way again.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I sure don't know. If I knew the answers, then I'd probably make a lot of money.
Isn't that why I'm here?
Yeah.
To, like, get those answers?
Well, you can't tell me about the tuning of instruments, so I'm not going to tell you about what my next social media idea is going to be.
Oh, shit! I'm gonna do some research. If I can find that answer, then will you create the next social media platform that we're all gonna?
Maybe.
You said you were an engineer.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it.
Okay.
I'll roll it around. I'll add it to my spinning plates that I have. I got one. This thing spinning over here. I was talking to my cousin Chance about that the other day, just about life, and he was saying how he feels like it's like carrying boxes, and like you've got your career box you carry for a little ways, but then you realize your social life box you left back there, so you got to put this one down and you got to go back and get that one and bring it back up and catch it back up. But then you realize like your car's broke down and you got to go work on that, so you got to go pick up that box and bring it up, and then your career box is getting left behind, so you got to go get that. And I said, yeah, it's kind of like that. I said, but I think of it more as spinning plates. You ever see those guys like in the circus or whatever, where they got 5 poles and they got plates spinning on top. It's like every once in a while you can step back and go, okay, things are all right, but not for long, because then at some point one will start to fall or wobble and you have to go fix that, and then you got to go in there. But you know, it's never boring.
No, but that's why like all the meditation stuff's so important, because if you're anxious and you're trying to spin plates, you're just breaking shit all over the place.
So true.
Yeah.
If you had to go back, or could go back to yourself at 17, 18, you're about to go to Northwestern and go into your musical type theater.
Right.
And you could give yourself some advice, what would you tell yourself?
Gosh, I don't know that I'd tell myself anything.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like, you know, where there's the movie where like the person goes back in time and changes one thing, and then like it changes the course of the entire trajectory. You know, the whole butterfly effect. So I don't know. That's hard. That's
or is there something that you would do differently? Or
I mean, I don't know. You know, I mean, I feel like I'd rather go tell like another 17-year-old something, you know, and maybe do something to give them confidence in their ability to be a bit of a mess, you know, because I feel like my biggest issue when I first got to college, when I was that age, was depression, you know, like I would go through like pretty intense bouts of depression, and I didn't know at the time that it was, for the most part, just like stored creative energy that had no place to go.
No outlet.
You know, like dance would help, but when I stopped dancing, because I did a lot of dance at that age, it would all come back.
So because there was no outlet, it kind of manifested as depression?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of anxiety and depression in the human experience is stuck creative energy of some sort. I
never thought about that, but yeah.
That's why I think that like every human needs some creative outlet, even if it's not what they do, whether they play an instrument or...
And even if they're not really good at it.
Yeah, they should just, you know,
just
because
do something to create and get that.
I think we need it, you know, I really think we need it. So yeah, like, I don't know if it would be helpful to tell my 17-year-old self that like...
Well, you would tell another 17-year-old.
Yeah, like...
Don't be afraid to be a mess and to
a little
things.
bit, you know, like, I mean, I don't think people should like unnecessarily suffer with mental illness, but I do think as a society we've really made it not okay to be in the painful parts of life. Like, we're supposed to be happy, and if you're upset, like there's a medication for it, and there's this, and there's
like
fix
there's some
it,
quick
fix it,
solution
fix it.
or something.
Yeah,
sometimes
you know,
you just
you got to go through it, you know. And so I think that like the thing that would have been most helpful for me is just knowing that like the value of that experience. You know, it's like we don't want the people around us to be unhappy, you know, like even now, like if I'm going through something, my sweet mom is just like, I just want you to be happy. You know, she like wants to help so much. And it's hard because like when you love someone, it's really hard to allow for them to like go through the down period of the wave, you know?
And but you have to go through the bad because that's what makes the good. Yeah. Like if everything was always hunky-dory and shiny and beautiful and wonderful, it'd get boring. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So I don't know, there's that. And then I think, you know, just to my 17-year-old self, like, just to, you know, all those artists that you love so much, like, you have that in you. Yeah. You know? I mean, I'd say that to any 17-year-old. Like, you have that in you. You know, it may not be, who knows how it'll manifest, but you have it in you. It's not like, you know, there's no, like, super special human. Yeah. It's like you can cultivate that if you want to.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, awesome. Anything you want to tell the beautiful people of the world that are listening? Any jokes? Do you have any jokes?
You do. You tell a joke. You do. Every time I've run into you in Nashville, you've like come at me with a joke. The ones I have that stay in my brain space are the wrong ones. The ones that like upset even me, and I'm like,
I had a dream last night that I was a tailpipe on a 1981 Chevrolet pickup truck. Okay. When I woke up this morning, I was exhausted.
That's good. It's corny. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, thanks for talking, Jenny.
Yeah, super fun.
right. Thanks for listening. Over these soothing ukulele sounds, I'll make it real quick. For show notes on today's episode, go over to don'tstifleme.com/059, and I'll post some videos of the battlefield up there, some links to all their social medias and all that good stuff. You know what we do here. And if you enjoyed this talk, then please subscribe and share with anybody that you think might be interested. If you'd like to leave a review or a rating, that would be fantastic. Also, when and if you get a chance, then go over and check out patreon.com/DSM podcast. Over there for $1, $3, $5, or whatever you'd like to give. You can get behind the scenes access to pictures and videos and all kinds of cool shit. And there's different levels over there that you can go check out. You can come in and hang out for an episode or who knows what else. And every little bit of that helps keep the ship sailing forward and allows me to keep doing these episodes. And once again, that is patreon.com/DSM podcast. Thank you in advance. Oh, how's everybody doing out there? I hope you should, if you're still listening right now, you are a magnificent individual, and you should send an email or something and let me know how you're doing. Jacob@don'tstifleme.com. Just wanted to throw that in there. Anyway, or you could hit me up on any of the social medias or anything and say, hey, the podcast social medias are all at DSM Podcast. Mine are all at Jacob Stifle. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will talk to you again very soon.